The days are getting shorter. I'm Marc Kimball, and this is e-biking on the Kimballism channel. Are you ready for part 2? In the previous episode, I covered camera grips and sound. On this episode, it's all about post-production, where the show comes together with the software. I love working with all the fun creative tools. I'm so old, I can remember when the days of video editing and graphics, $1 million facility back in the 90s doesn't even come close to what I have at my fingertips today. So let's head inside so I can show you all the cool software. Here is when all the magic happens and we put the e-bike show together. Now there are 3 phases of production. There's pre-production, where you go out and write the script and you plan out your shots and you figure out your location. There's production, where you're actually out there shooting the show. And then post-production here, where you take all that footage, put it together to create the final product. So behind me is the tool I love to work with, my iMac Pro. And on the side, you're probably wondering what these 4 boxes are. Those are eGPUs. Each one has a graphic card. And this really accelerates my workflow when I'm in 3D animation. Now, why do I have them? Because my full-time job is I'm a motion graphic designer. I work in 2D and 3D animation. So I do have all this hardware and software to do my job on a daily basis. But it's also used to create the e-bike show. So how do I actually get the footage out of the cameras into my computer? Well, you have AirDrop. That is a wirelessly transmit the footage over. I prefer the second method, where I'm taking a cable, plugging in my iPhone or my Instra360 X3, and I plug it right into the computer. And that way I can download the files directly, and it's much faster. Another great way is, if the camera has a memory card, is I'll pop the memory card out, throw it in the slot, and then pops up like a hard drive, and I just transfer the files that way. The first piece of software we'll talk about is the Instra Studio, and that's where we can bring in the Insta360 Go 2 or the Insta360 X3 spherical footage. And this is where we can pick out the kind of shots we want and then export them out for the edit. There are 2 ways to get footage in. One, you hit the plus sign and you can import footage that way, or you can just select all your clips and just drag them in. This is my preferred method. And now we can really have some fun here. And let's take a look at one of the clips. Let's take the first one. And as you can see, I can move the camera all around. It is so cool to be able to work this way. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to want to track the shot automatically. And Instra Studio gives me that capability. So I'm going to hit the track system. And I'm going to select what I want to track. And now I'm just going to hit start tracking. And this will automatically follow me while I'm riding. I call this my drive-by type of shot. And so let's take a look at how well the software was able to track me. And as you can see, it's a beautiful pan shot. So that's one type of method I use in trying to create the different shots for my Insta360 X3. So here's another one where I'm on the bike and I have the pole extended, and I'm going to start with a POV shot where we're seeing the road in front of me. And so I'm going to select a keyframe, and I can of course change all the lensing and tilt and rotation. It's so creative what you can do with just one piece of footage from the Insta360. So here we go. There's our first shot. I'm going to wait a few seconds. And now I'm going to add another keyframe. And this is just so it stays onto that same angle. And now I'm going to go forward, and now I'm going to want to pan the camera so I'm in the front view now. There we go. Position it. Let's zero out the rotation. Tilt up a little bit, and let's change the lensing a little bit so there's less distortion. And let's see what else we can do here. Yeah, that's good. And now we can even change the interpolation between the 2 keyframes. So right now it's kind of just a simple smooth dissolve, but we have several options we can do to see how it transforms from one keyframe to the next. So let's try this fade in and fade out. That'll be a good choice. And let's see what we get. So we'll go back to the beginning from the in point, and let's play. It is amazing what you can do with this software and the X3 camera. I just can't believe all the stuff I can do and how many different camera angles I can come up with. It's just amazing. You can tilt the camera down and then you can have it pan up from me writing. Let's try that interpolation. And there you go. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. So as you can see, it's not a overly complex software. It's pretty laid out really nice and really simple to use. So the next thing we're going to want to do is export out the clips so I can edit with them. So it's real simple. Let's give this a name, front view, pan, and then we can just start export. You can also batch if you want to. Cinema 4D, my 3D software, is one of the favorites I like to work with. In one of the shows, E-biking, Are Lithium Batteries Dangerous?, there was quite a few shots I needed to create an animation to help tell that story. So why don't we take a look at some of those project files? So here we are in Cinema 4D, and I had to model a generic lithium battery and chargers and cables. And I've set up a lighting system, and I've got my camera all set up, which is a dolly. See all those green dots? That's a Voronoi fracture. And that is going to automatically break up the model so I can create a simulated explosion of pieces flying out. It is really a lot of fun to blow things up. As you see on the top view, you're seeing all those little fractures kind of exploding. This is to simulate that the battery is overheated and is going to explode. And now what I'm going to do is test out what it really looks like as a full render. Here's where the eGPU cards come in handy. Each card is now being utilized to render this frame. And it really doesn't take that long at all to see a really high-end rendered frame, to see how the lighting and how everything's looking. And there you go. So this is, as you can see, is red. So I animate the lights going from white, normal lighting, to red. And this will really help sell the idea that the battery is overheating and going to explode. I will then export out the rendered files, and then I will bring it into another program to finish it off. The next piece of software is Adobe After Effects. This is my compositing and effects tool. This is where you create animated text, take Cinema 4D rendered files, composite together with footage and all this kind of cool stuff to create visual effects. This is the software I use. So let's take a look. So I've opened up the battery AE project, and let's take a look at crack and explosions. This is what you saw I was working on in Cinema 4D. This is the final render frame. Now let's take a good look at the clip. You can see I have audio so I could synchronize the shot, but let's take a look at the effects I've added to that clip. One is called Turbulence Displace. And what that does is create those kind of heat waves that you see in the desert when it's really hot out. You see that the objects and stuff kind of have that wave feel. And that's what turbulence display does for me. And then the other little effect I've added is just a slight of an optic glow, just to give the overall footage this nice little, soft glow to it. And then to really dramatize the explosion, I found two effect clips. One is explosions and another one's fireball. And so using a screen overlay, it really sells the shot in the end that a real explosion has happened. So let's take a look at that. Now I have the resolution set at 3rd. This is so I can see things in real time very quickly. But when I export it out, it will be a full rendered frame. We've transferred all our footage onto our hard drive. We've exported out our favorite Instra360 clips. We've created After Effects graphics, maybe some 3D. And now it's time to put all this together. And that is Adobe Premiere Pro. So let's take a look. I've imported all the footage and have organized them into separate bins. And I am now ready to edit. So let's take a look at what one can do in Premiere. You can see on the left side is my preview window, and on my right side is the edit window. And you can drag clips in and out and create multiple layers and throw videos on different layers. You can have graphics with alpha keys to them and superimpose them over clips. And it's all happening in real time. You can go in and Like for example, when I'm on the camera there, that monitor shot is really fake. I just added a Photoshop graphic on the background, which really enhances the shot. And then you have color correction tools like LumaFusion, which can really help pretty up a shot, and you can do some amazing color correction with it. And of course, you can tweak the sound as well. So you have a bunch of EQ, dynamic ranges, you can enhance the speech. There are so many powerful tools within Premiere that it would take a whole video just to explain all the different things you're capable of doing in an edit program like this. And last but not least, Photoshop. This is my image tool where you can fix photographs, you can create graphics, you can create layered graphics and bring them into After Effects and animate them. So it's endless what you can do with this tool. And I've been working with that since 1.0. That's how old I am. That's about it. We've covered Instra360 STUDIO, we've covered Cinema 4D, we've covered After Effects, we've covered Premiere Pro, and now Photoshop. So that's it. So let's get back on the bike. We've come to the end of another show. I hope you enjoyed learning all about the desktop software I use in creating the e-biking on the Kimballism show. You can do some amazing stuff with iPhones and tablets. On my iPad, I have a software called LumaFusion, which is a terrific editing software. And I have tons of graphic software as well on my iPad. So you can do a lot of stuff. So go out there and have some fun on your great adventures in shooting them and editing them. Thank you so much for your support and subscribing and all your great comments. Time to end with the Kimballism idiom.
This software has no real manual, just appendums after appendums.